Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Agya means the ignorant. Cha is and. Ashraddha Danaha, the faithless. And Samshayatma, the doubting self. All of these, they go to destruction, vinashyati. And for Bhagavan continues, Nayam, not this, lokosti, this world, not this world, nor the higher world, na paraha, na sukham, no happiness, samshayatmanaha, for the doubting self. So Bhagavan says the ignorant, the faithless, and the doubting self, all these kind of people go to destruction, and there is neither this world for them, or neither there is place in this world for them, nor in the supreme world or in the higher world, nor is there any happiness. There is no happiness for the doubter, for the samshayatmanaha. It is said that samyak shete jnanam yasmat. Doubt is that which puts knowledge to sleep. When the mother feeds her child, he consumes it with complete faith. Do we see the child question, what are you feeding me? Maybe for taste, yes, but not in a doubting manner in terms of what the content is. Sri Ramakrishna said, unless one has the faith of a child, one cannot have access to the Lord. The grace of the Lord comes to the person who has this kind of faith. The calculative and doubtful estrange themselves from the divine. For this reason, Bhagavan now continues. Let us recite verses 4.41 and 4.42 together. Hari Om. Let's get started with our prayers.
सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गीता ध्यान। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रा येन त्वया भारततल्यपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवैत्रेकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरननडी कैवर्तककेशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्तोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाभूदितम् लोके सज्जन षट्परैरहरहः पीपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणीन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Hari Om. So it's a nice afternoon here, raining heavily, heavy winds and raining heavily. So with prayers that for the next 1.5 hours, there should be no disruption in internet or power. Let's get started today. So Bhagavan explained how through knowledge, with the knowledge that the seeker gains, karma becomes akarma, and how the nature of action ceases to be. And this knowledge is twofold. Knowing the self to be the non-doer, that is, knowing one's nature to be akarta. And Bhagavan had said, karmanya karmanya pasched akarmani cha karmayaha sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayukta kritsna karmakrit. So Bhagavan had said that a person who recognizes action in action and inaction in action, that person is sabuddhiman, wise among all human beings. And the second type of knowledge is seeing every component of action, that is karaka, as the Lord himself. Brahmarpanam brahma havihi, brahmagnau brahmanahutam, brahmaiva tena gantavyam, brahma karma samadhina. So these are the two-fold aspects of knowledge with which the person is aware that the nature of action, what it is, and karma becomes akarma. Seeing every component of action, everything that we do, all that we described the last time as what is action, who is the doer, what are the instruments, everything, all aspects of action. This knowledge of being akarta and the knowledge that the karaka is the Brahman, these two together provide the person samyak darshana. Samyak darshana we saw was true vision. And equipped with this knowledge, the samyak darshi, the person who has true vision, is able to perform jnana karma sannyasa yoga. which is the entire aspect that is covered by this chapter. The yoga of renunciation of action in knowledge. Bhagavan then went on to elaborate the method to perform this yoga as yagyas. And he listed out 12 yagyas that human beings take up. So yaj in Sanskrit means to worship. And the 12 yagyas are ways defined by the Lord through which human beings can worship with sacrifices. Yaj also means worshipping with sacrifices. Yagya is worshipping with sacrifices. So the first yagya was Daivam Yagyam, where people sacrifice everything to deities. And Karma Yogis perform this sacrifice as though it is their duty. And whereby such performance of Karma Yoga implies performance of Daivam Yagyam or Karma Yagyam. This Daivam Yagyam is representative of all the yagyas that are the means, the sadhanas. And then we saw that the Jnana Yogis, they crucifying their ego, they offer themselves, and thereby this solemn act of offering themselves becomes Brahmajnana Yajna. The Brahmajnana Yajnam is representative of the culminating sadhana. And then the third and the fourth yagyas were ones which were kind of diametrically opposite, where some human beings offer the sacrifice of restraining their sense organs and their organs of action as worship. That was Indriya Samyamya Yajna. While others make best use of their sense organs and organs of actions, completely utilized for the adoration, the worship of the Lord, of the Almighty. And that becomes their entire worship, their sacrifice. That is the Indriya Vishayan Yajna. Then we came to Atma Samyamya Yajna. And here also we saw that the practice is essentially of Samyamya or restraint. But the object of their devotion, object of their worship, the Dharana Dhyana Samadhi, in this case is the Nirguna Brahman. Whereas in the case of the third Yajna, it was the Saguna Brahman or the deity. In other words, there is no object at all. Nirguna is no gunas. We have seen that in detail earlier. Dharana is holding the mind in one place, not allowing it to wander. Dhyana is to give the mind an object of focus through which the mind is concentrating on that object in an intermittent manner. So it is not continuous. Whereas Samadhi is continuous, uninterrupted focus on the object of meditation. Then we saw there were the other yagyas, Dravya Yajna, which is acquiring wealth by honest means and then utilizing it for the welfare of the society. Tapo Yajna, which is austerity, self-purification, tapas. Yoga Yajna, performance of Ashtanga Yoga or Raja Yoga. Then Swadhyaya Yajna, which is recitation, reading of scriptural texts. And then the Jnana Yajna, this kind of Jnana Yajna, which is understanding of what you are reciting, understanding the meaning behind the scriptural text. And then we saw Samshita Vrata Yajna, the Dhrida Nishcha, the rigid vows that people take that help them be established in the path that they have chosen to be. And what is that path? The path of Karma Yoga. The Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, which helps them being absolutely rigid and determined in the vows that they take in this path. And then finally we saw the Niyata Ahara, which is by controlling diet, they did the Pranayama Yajna, Pranayama Parayana, or the breathing practices that we all know about. So these were the 12 yajnas that Bhagavan talked about. A common misconception is that sacrifice means renouncing the world. When you sacrifice, that means you renounce everything, and wear orange vastra and go to the Himalayas. So if a person retires from the world to perform sacrifices, would it imply that the people who live in this world, like us, people doing their job, people doing karma yoga, people doing their duties, who are working for the good of the society, those people who do karma yoga, they are not worshipping? Does it imply that? And on the contrary, does it mean that the sannyasis do not contribute anything for the welfare of the world? Actually, Arjuna asks this question of Bhagwan in the beginning of chapter 3, if you remember, the first chapter. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardhana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshavaha. So he says, Bhagwan, O Janardana, if in your considered opinion, wisdom is greater than action, then why is it that you are asking me to engage in this ghora action, in this war? And Bhagwan had responded to it, saying, Lokesmin dvividha nishta pura prokta maya nagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam, where he said that this world comprises of two kinds of people, and there is a prescribed action, path, abidance for these people depending on what kind they belong to or what kind they are. The path of wisdom is for the Sankhyans, the Jnana Yogis, and the path of action is for the Yogis, the Karma Yogis. Thereby, at that time, Bhagwan had implied that both these paths are equal, depending on who is traversing in the path. Swami Vivekananda told this beautiful story, of a king who wanted to know which of the two is greater at worship, a sannyasi or a householder. And anyone who came, any wise people who came to the kingdom, he would ask this question of them. He had exhausted this question among the wise people in his own kingdom. And many wise people sought to solve the problem for the king. Some asserted that it was the sadhus, the sannyasis, who were greater, while others said that the householder who performs his or her duties in a steadfast manner is greater. The king sought proof, and that is where, nobody could come out and give the proof for what he was asking. One day, a young sannyasi came to the kingdom, and the king asked him the same question, who is greater? And the answer surprised the king. The young sannyasi said, each of them, O king, is great in their own place. And as usual, the king said, show me the proof. Sannyasi said, I will show you the proof, sir, but my request to you is, please come with me. You have to live the life that I do for a few days, and during the course of that time, I will show you the proof. And then the king agreed, consented, and the two of them set off. In a few days, they reached another kingdom, and where they saw that there was this huge ceremony that was going on. And this ceremony was of the Swayamvara of the beautiful princess of the kingdom. And in this kingdom, the Swayamvara was held in the form that the princess herself will go in a procession in a chariot. All the suitable men will assemble, and whichever man she liked, she will demonstrate her choice by throwing a garland at him. And it was known that this princess has done this a couple of times before also and did not select anybody. And as these two were watching the procession, there was another young sannyasi, handsome, glowing like the sun. He came and stood and started watching the ceremony, the procession. And as soon as the princess saw this young sannyasi, she was spellbound, she was completely attracted to him, stopped and threw the garland at him. The young sannyasi reacted, saying, what nonsense is this? I am a sannyasi, I cannot get married. And threw off the garland, took it away and threw it away. The king, the other king, the father of the princess said, O sannyasi, please leave your ways and come and please become the husband of my daughter. You will be then the king of this land. While I'm alive, you will get half the kingdom, and after my passing, you will get the entire kingdom. The sannyasi said, what are you talking, O king? This is nonsense. I am a sannyasi, can't you see? All this is not for me. And he threw the garland again and went away, left the gathering. The our original king and the sannyasi who was with the king, they went about in their own ways, continued their journey. And as they continued their journey, they came onto a forest, and they were deep inside the forest when dusk approached, and it looked like they will not be able to cross or traverse through the forest during the night itself. Luckily for them, they saw a clearing, and in the clearing was a very small hut. And they said, thank God we have some place for shelter. And they went and saw that this hut belonged to a poor woodcutter and his family, which had his wife and 2 children. The woodcutter and his family gladly gave shelter to these two, the king and the sannyasi. And they had a wash, sat down, talked for some time, and then it was dinner time. And the king heard the woodcutter tell his wife that, my dear, we have guests and we need to feed them now. And then the wife responded saying, I know that and I've been thinking about it, but we have food only for the 4 of us. So what shall we do today? Let the 2 of us not eat. We will give our share of the food to the sannyasi and his co-passenger, co-traveler, and we will just today remain without food. The king heard that, the sannyasi also heard that, and they were hesitant to partake. But sannyasi said, don't worry, king, this is life, this is what happens. They are doing their duty, let them do it. Eat your food. Both of them had the food, and the night fell and they relaxed. And after some time, it started getting really cold. The couple, the woodcutter and his wife, they went to sleep. They had not eaten anything, they went to sleep. As it became colder and colder, the king heard one of the child say to the other, our parents gave their food to our guests. Let us give our quilts to our guests. Let them be comfortable. Anyway, we are all playing around. We'll be warm. It doesn't matter. We are used to this weather. And their quilts were given to the guests. And the king and the sannyasi had a good night's sleep. And the next day thanked their host and went their way. As they were going, the sannyasi looked at the thoughtful king, who was deep in thought, and said, dear king, you have seen that each is great in their own place. If you want to live in the world like a woodcutter, like we saw the woodcutter and his family, you want to be in the world, be part of the world, earn your living, do your duty, be ready at any moment to sacrifice what belongs to you for the welfare of another deserving human being. And if you want to be like that sannyasi who has renounced the world, then never ever get attracted to whatever riches, beauty, kingdom, whatever that may come your way. So if you want to be a householder, hold yourself and your belongings as a sacrifice for the welfare of others. And if you want to choose a life of renunciation, then do not place any value on anything, whether it be beauty, money, power, whatever it may be. And each is great in their respective place. But remember, the duty of one is not the duty of the other. Whatever you choose, do your duty. Now, after explaining how action becomes inaction through knowledge and explaining the various yagyas and sacrifices, various forms of them that we just revised, Bhagavan says that while all yagyas are material in nature, there is one that is not material in nature and is superior to all others. And that is Brahma Jnana Yajna. So while in the beginning, when he taught Arjuna about performing Karma Yoga, he said there are 2 ways, both ways are equal depending on which way you are part of. Now, Bhagavan says, after explaining how knowledge helps the person see action in inaction and inaction in action, now he says that Brahma Jnana Yoga is the best. We will see how Bhagavan expounds, he will talk about how this is the best. He will glorify this yajna. He will say how you do this yajna, and he will give out the benefits of the yajna. That is the remaining part of chapter 4 that we will finish today. So we will read verse 33.
श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद्यज्ञा
Shreyan Dravyamaya Yajya
ज्ञानयज्ञः परन्तपा
Jnana Yajya Parantapa
सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ
Sarvam Karmakhilam Partha
ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते
Jnane Parisamapyate.
श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद्यज्ञा ज्ञानयज्ञः परन्तपा सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते.
So Shreyan Dravyamayad Yagyat. So Bhagavan says, O Parantapa, Hey Parantapa, Dravyamayad. All yagyas are performed with and through material objects. So the enablers, the karakas for the performance of the yagya, all yagyas are material, are dravya in nature. And compared to all of that, but however except one, compared to all of these yagyas, which are performed with the benefit of material objects, there is one yagya which is Shreyan. Shreyan means superior. And that yagya is Jnana Yagya, knowledge sacrifice. This is not the one referred to as the understanding of the scriptures, but this is the one where the knowledge that the Brahman is all and all is Brahman, the Brahma Jnana Yagya. Why is that so? Sarvam Karma Khilam, which means all actions in their entirety, they culminate in knowledge. Parisampayate Jnane. So Bhagavan says that this one yagya is superior to all the other yagyas which use material aspects as enablers, because all actions ultimately culminate in knowledge. Karma Yoga has two aspects, knowledge and material ingredients. Of these two, the component of knowledge is superior to the component of material ingredients. Knowledge is the culmination of all actions and of everything else also. This knowledge alone, which is to be obtained by all means, is practiced as comprehended in Karma Yoga. And this knowledge, being regularly practiced, reaches gradually over a period of time, ultimately, and what is ultimately attainable by everyone, by all of us. And what is that? The Samyak Darshana, which is the vision of the self. So over a period of time, this knowledge helps everyone who is pursuing this path to attain the Samyak Darshana. Now the question arises that if that by this knowledge alone we can gain that true vision, then how do you gain this knowledge? So Bhagavan teaches us how to gain this knowledge. We'll go to the next verse.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन
Tadviddhi pranipatena
परिप्रश्नेन सेवया
pariprashnena sevaya
उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम्
upadekshanti te jnanam
ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः
jnanina tattvadarshinah
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Tad means that. That is referring to what here? That knowledge. Vidhi, you come to know. How do you come to know this knowledge? How do you learn? How do you get this knowledge? So Bhagavan gives three ways. Pranipatena, Pariprashnena, and Sevaya. Pranipatena means listening with humility. Shravana. Pranipatena, actually literal meaning of pranipatena is prostration, prostrating, by prostration or by prostrating. Now prostrating is essentially a mudra, like Jnana Mudra represents giving and receiving knowledge. Prostration or pranipata is a mudra that shows readiness to listen with humility. In the Indian tradition, in the Indian custom, we prostrate to our elders and those we hold in high esteem. It is to communicate that we are ready to listen or abide with humility. Communicate humility and abidance. The second method that Bhagavan says to gain knowledge is pariprashnena, by thorough questioning. Manana. Prashnena means by questioning. Pari indicates thoroughness. Questioning in such a manner that no doubts remain. Bhagavan also, when he started with this chapter, he had made a commitment, if we remember. He said, Proktavan, this is something which is taught to you in such a manner that no doubt will remain. That's what Bhagavan says in the beginning. Imam Vishwasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. Similarly, the person who is receiving, who is learning the sadhaka, also needs to ask questions so that no doubt remains. The third is sevaya. Sevaya means by service. An attitude of service generates humility. That also improves the effectiveness in listening and in questioning. Additionally, service to the Guru helps in increasing the time spent with the Guru. If you take water to the Guru, you will spend more time with the Guru. We often say, seek out the wise. During my early corporate life in the private sector, after leaving the Indian Army, I worked in the admin and personnel departments. That was about 4 to 5 years in the initial stages of my career. I used to be at that time responsible for aspects like home and car maintenance of top executives, executive relocation when they moved from one place to the other. They and their belongings had to be moved from one place to the other. And in those days in India, we used to actually rent these massive trucks, and the household used to move from one city to the other, right? And also organizing parties and those kind of things. Now, this work gave me time with, people. I don't know if some of you recognize, but in my mind, these people come about. Anil and Geeta Dang, Subhan Sinha or PM Sinha was his official name, the chairman of PepsiCo. Anil Dikshit, Varun Berry, Manu and Smita Anand, Jaswinder Ahuja of Cadence. These are all, and many others, each one of them extremely learned and respected leaders, chief executives, each one of them. And not only were they learned and respected, each one of them with humility and an attitude of giving. In fact, I had a standing invitation in the chairman of PepsiCo, PM Sinha or Suman Sinha, any party that was there, because I had helped organize that party, I was a guest when the party actually happened. And I have attended a number of these where I was fortunate enough to meet senior corporate executives of almost all the big Indian private sector companies that you see, senior bureaucrats, some politicians, and so on. And this was an experience in itself. If I consider my Indian Army tenure as an MBA in itself, this experience of working with these leaders was an executive leadership program. So just the time that I got with these learned people. And Bhagavan says that they, the wise, they will definitely share their knowledge with you and they will instruct you. Upadekshanti te jnanam. They will share their knowledge and they will instruct. And why will they do that? Because these people are jnaninaha, wise. They are well equipped with knowledge and can explain very well with examples, with logic, with the required inputs and so on. And they are also tattvadarshinaha, which means that they are established in their wisdom. They have not only the knowledge, but they also have the experience. Remember what we talked about? Paroksha jnana and aparoksha jnana. They have knowledge which they have acquired through reading, listening, and so on. And they have aparoksha jnana, which is direct knowledge that they have experienced, experiential knowledge. One who has worn the shoes knows its pinch, and one who has walked the path knows the way. Thus, this is the way to get the knowledge. But what is the use of such knowledge? That Bhagavan deals with in the next verse.
यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम्
Yagyatva na punarmoham
एवं यास्यसि पाण्डव
evam yasyasi pandava
येन भूतान्यशेषेण
yena bhutanyashesena
द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्यतो मयि
drakshayasyatmanyato mayi.
यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यास्यसि पाण्डव येन भूतान्यशेषेण द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्यतो मयि
Yagyatva, which having known the knowledge that we just talked about, how do you get that knowledge? Having gained that knowledge, na punarmoham yasyasi, you will not get deluded again. And how will you not get deluded? In what manner? Evam, in this manner, the way you are deluded now. Now delusion essentially is anatmani atma buddhi, jagati satya buddhi. We saw this earlier also. That is, in the not self, having the notion of the self. In the unreal world, having notion of reality. This delusion. And this delusion, it leads to not knowing what to do and how to go about it. Exactly the state that Arjuna is in. And that's the evam. This delusion is what Bhagavan is referring to. And you will not have this delusion again. And by this knowledge, yena, drakshyasi, bhutani, you will see, you will comprehend. Bhutani means all the beings, all aspects of creation. You will comprehend all of them. Asheshena, all of them, without any exception. And where will you and how will you comprehend them? Atmani athomai. You will comprehend them in yourself, and then once you have comprehended them in yourself, you will comprehend them in me also. How beautiful is that? So this is like, one night we were on a patrol, okay, and we encountered, this is an army patrol doing an operation, and we encountered another detachment. And immediately we prepared for an ambush to attack that other detachment. While decoding some of the communication, we realized that the other detachment was our own troops, our friendly troops. They were us. So what happened? We were just about preparing to attack them. And as soon as we realized that they are us, our brothers in arms, our attitude and our action completely changed. We actually got together, hugged each other, thanked God that, we had actually not shot at each other and so on, and then went about our own ways. Our attitude changed, our action also changed. Similarly, the ignorant view the world as conflicting forces. Okay? And when the dawn of enlightenment, when this knowledge dawns on them, that is when they see that there is no diversity. They see all of the aspects of creation in them and in Bhagavan. Sri Ramakrishna said, ignorance leads to diversity. Knowledge leads to unity. And what is the glory? Bhagavan now glorifies this knowledge. We will see that in verses 36 and 37. We will recite both of them together.
अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः
Api chedasi papebhyah
सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः
sarvebhyah papakrittamah
सर्वं ज्ञानाप्लवेनैव
sarvam jnanaplavenaiva
वृजिनं सन्तिरिष्यसि
vrijinam santarishyasi
यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निः
yataidhamsi samidhognihi
भस्मसात् कुरुतेऽर्जुन
bhasmasat kuruterjuna
ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि
jnanagnis sarvakarmani
भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा
भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा
अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानाप्लवेनैव वृजनं सन्तिरिष्यसि यतेनांसि समिद्धोऽग्निः भस्मसात् कुरुतेऽर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा.
So Bhagavan says, even if you are the most sinful of all sinners. So api is even. Chedasi, if you are. Papa krittamaha, most sinful. Sarvebhyaha, than all of them. All of who? Papebhyaha, the sinners. Santrishyasi. Santrisyashi is you shall cross. And what will you cross? Sarvam, all. Vrijinam, sins. You shall cross all the sins. Jnana plavenaiva. Jnana plavena is by the raft of knowledge. Eva, alone. Even if you are the most sinful of all sinners, yet you shall cross and overcome all these sins, all the mental disturbances, by the raft of knowledge alone. And then Bhagavan says, Yatha, as Samiddho, the blazing Agnihi. Samiddho Agnihi, the blazing fire. As the blazing fire reduces kurute, or it makes, kurute means to do. What does it do? To the idhasmi, which is the fuel, it reduces it to bhasmasat, to ashes. Just like that, tatha, so, jnanagnihi, the fire of knowledge, sarva karmani, all the actions, what does it do? Kurute bhasmasat, it reduces to ashes. So as the blazing fire reduces fuel, firewood, any kind of fuel to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge reduce all actions to ashes. So in the first example, jnana or knowledge is spoken of as a raft or a boat that takes one across the ocean of sins, across the ocean of mental disturbances. And in the second example, jnana is presented as the fire that destroys whatever one has come across or whatever one has done in terms of their actions. And this being the glory of knowledge, Bhagavan continues,
Nahi jnanena sadrisham
Nahi jnanena sadrisham
pavitramiha vidyate
Pavitramiha vidyate
tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha
Tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha
kalenatmani vindati
Kalenatmani vindati
Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhaha kalenatmani vindati.
He is certainly, vidyate na, there is no pavitram, there is no pavitram here is pure or purifier, nothing that purifies. Sadrisham, nothing that is equal to this purifier. What? Jnanena, the knowledge. Where? In this world. There is nothing. There are so many ways that are given in the Shastras. You have yagyas, you have prayashchitta, you have Ashtanga Yoga, you have Pranayama. There are so many others. But none of them is comparable. None of them is purer as compared to knowledge or jnana. And Bhagavan says, Tat, that, in course of time, Kalena, Yoga Samsiddha, perfected by Karma Yoga, Swayam Atmani Vindati, by oneself, in oneself you find. So by yourself, in yourself, you find what? This knowledge. Meaning, in the course of time, by the practice of Karma Yoga, this knowledge becomes rooted in the person by itself. This happens by sticking to the path of Karma Yoga. It is said in the Upanishads, Charaiveti, Charaiveti, which means walk on, keep going, keep doing. It will happen. When he begins to teach Karma Yoga, Bhagavan says, this was verse 39, chapter 2. That is the time he is beginning to teach. He says, Esha te bihitha sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So this which has been taught to you till now, that is wisdom concerning Sankhya. Now Arjuna, now Partha, listen to the wisdom concerning Karma Yoga. And having known this wisdom concerning yoga, you shall be free, or you shall cast off all the bondage that comes from action. So, Bhagavan talked about pranipatena, pariprashnena and sevaya. So these are external behaviors. Listening with humility, asking questions in a thorough manner so that you do not forget and you get all the answers that you are seeking, and by service. All of these are external aspects through which one gains knowledge, and these are required to obtain knowledge. Now, what is required within ourselves? What is there that needs to be in the Antaratma through which we get the knowledge? That Bhagavan deals with now.
Shraddhavam labate jnanam.
Shraddhavan labate jnanam.
Tatparas samyatendriyaha.
Tatparas samyatendriyaha.
Jnanam labdva param shantim.
Jnanam labdva param shantim.
Achirenadhigacchati.
Achirenadhigacchati.
Shraddhavam labate jnanam. Tatparas samyatendriyaha. Jnanam labdva param shantim. Achirenadhigacchati.
Shrat dadhati iti shraddha. Shrat means truth, reality. Dadhati means one that upholds. That which upholds reality for you, that which upholds reality for me, that which upholds reality for each one of us, that is your Shraddha, my Shraddha, our Shraddha. It is something that is not seen, but it is still known to be true. A unique intuitive capacity of the mind intellect. Rabindranath Tagore said, the world starts getting ready for sunrise, knowing that it's going to happen. What if sunrise doesn't happen? But no, the world has Shraddha, that it is going to happen. And it starts getting ready. The soldier gets into battle with complete faith on his commander's plan. It is a complex thing. It's not easy, it's very complex. Yet at the same time, it is very easy. It is a natural acceptance. Complex, yet easy and natural to accept. Unperceivable, yet trusting, based on an associated reason. It can't be perceived, but there is that trust, and that is based on, in the soldier's case, based on the faith, based on the experiential knowledge that he has about his commander's ability. In the world's case, based on the fact that for centuries we have seen the sun come up every morning. So based on an associated reason. Faith is the ability to see the possibility of truth, seeing the now and comprehending the future. And Bhagavan says, Shraddhavan, one who has faith, labhate jnanam, attains knowledge. And in addition to Shraddha, is Shraddha alone enough? There are a couple of other things that Bhagavan lists out. Tatpara, Tatparaha means deep intent, keenness in pursuit, a burning aspiration to walk the path. And Samyaktendriyaha, mastery over the senses, that then enables the person, the capacity, gives the person the capacity to restrain them, having restrained the senses. Samyaktendriyaha means having restrained the senses, for which you need mastery over the senses. And this kind of a person, the person who has Shraddha, who is Shraddhavan, who has Tatpara, which is the intent, the deep intent, the keenness, and who has Samyatendriya, who has restrained her senses, that person, such a seeker, what? Jnanam labdva, having obtained the knowledge, achirena, very soon. Bhagavan just said, kalena vindati. In the course of time, the knowledge will get established inside you by yourself. That's what Bhagavan just said in the previous verse. But with these internal qualities, this kalena becomes very short. Achirena. It happens very, very quickly. And when that happens, adhigacchati, attains, goes to, this person goes to param shantim, supreme peace. So once when Aristotle was contemplating by the banks of a river, a young man, he casually sauntered, by, and recognizing Aristotle, casually walked up to him and said, "Master, I want knowledge. Can you give me knowledge? Can you give it to me?" Aristotle asked the man, "How much do you want knowledge?" The man said, "That's all I want, O master. Please give it to me." So instead of giving him a direct response, Aristotle took the man into the river and, holding him by the back of his neck, immersed his head into the river and kept it there for a few seconds. And after a few seconds, about 30-45 seconds, pulled him back out. And then he said, "Young man, what do you want?" The man said, "Master, I want knowledge." Aristotle pushed his head again into the water. This time kept it longer for about a couple of minutes. And after a couple of minutes, pulled it back up and looked at him, little bit. The man was a little bit panting. He had been underwater for almost 2 minutes or maybe a little more. And Aristotle said, "What do you seek?" And the man was like, what is this master doing? What is this man doing? Tried to free himself. But Aristotle, strong, known to be a very strong person. Healthy, strong, big. The young man couldn't free himself. And he said, "Master, I seek knowledge. I want knowledge." For a third time, Aristotle pushed his head into the water. And this time he did not bring him up. He kept it there. And I just told you, Aristotle is a strong person, was a strong man. After some time, after a few minutes, this man just fought his way out with such a force that was not possible to comprehend. No one thought that he could have such a force. With such a force that Aristotle stumbled and almost fell, toppled into the river. Aristotle quickly recovered, got hold of the young man, this time also to steady himself, not just to hold him. And he said, "Young man, what do you want? What do you seek?" The young man said, "Water. I want air. I want air. I need to breathe." Aristotle told him, "When you seek knowledge with the same zeal, you shall get it. Come back and let me know when that happens." Shraddhavan is the first aspect. Tatpara is the second one. And Samyatendriya. When you have those, it will happen. It will come. And who are the people who miss out, who do not get these knowledge? That Bhagavan talks about in the next verse.
Ajñascha shraddhadanascha
Ajyascha shraddhadanascha
samshayatma vinashyati
samshayatma vinashyati
nayam lokosti na paraha
nayam lokosti na paraha
na sukham samshayatmanaha
na sukham samshayatmanaha
Ajñascha shraddhadanascha संशयात्मा विनश्यति नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परः न सुखं संशयात्मनः.
Agya means the ignorant. Cha is and. Ashraddha danaha, the faithless. And samshayatma, the doubting self. All of these, they go to destruction, vinashyati. And for Bhagavan continues, Nayam, not this, lokosti, this world, not this world, nor the higher world, na paraha, na sukham, no happiness, samshayatmanaha, for the doubting self. So Bhagavan says the ignorant, the faithless, and the doubting self, all these kind of people go to destruction, and there is neither this world for them, or neither there is place in this world for them, nor in the supreme world or the higher world, nor is there any happiness. There is no happiness for the doubter, for the samshayatmanaha. It is said that samyak shete jnanam yasmat. Doubt is that which puts knowledge to sleep. When the mother feeds her child, he consumes it with complete faith. Do we see the child question, what are you feeding me? Maybe for taste, yes, but not in a doubting manner in terms of what the content is. Sri Ramakrishna said, unless one has the faith of a child, one cannot have access to the Lord. The grace of the Lord comes to the person who has this kind of faith. The calculative and doubtful estrange themselves from the divine. For this reason, Bhagavan now continues. Let us recite verses 4.41 and 4.42 together.
Yoga sanyasta karmanam
Yoga sanyasta karmanam
jnana sanchina samshayam
jnana samchina samshayam
atmavantam na karmani
atmavantam na karmani
nibadnanti dhananjaya
nibadnanti dhananjaya
tasmad ajnana sambhutam
tasmat ajnana sambhutam
hristam jnanasinatmanaha
hristam jnanasminatmanaha
chitvainam samshayam yogam
Shitvainam samshayam yogam
atishto tishta bharata
atishto tishta bharata
yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchina samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya tasmad ajnana sambhutam histam jnanasinatmanaha chitvainam samshayam yogam atishto tishta bharata.
So he who has renounced actions by karma yoga, yoga sanyasta karmanam, one who has renounced actions by what? By karma yoga, by yoga. One whose doubts are torn apart by knowledge. Jnana samchinna samshayam. Jnana samchinna. They are torn apart by what? By jnana. What is torn apart? The samshayam, the doubts. One who is poised in the self, atmavantam. That person, actions do not bind him. Karmani nibadanti. O Dhananjaya, O Arjuna. So like a mud fish, a fish, we see these fishes that are there in these mud rivulets or ponds which have a lot of mud. That mud fish is untarnished by the mud. Though it is wallowing in that mud all the time, it is untarnished. Similarly, a yogi is one who is not bound by karma. even though he is ever occupied in that karma. Paramahamsa Yogananda said, though you must remain in the world, but be not of the world. Though you must remain in the world, but be not of the world. Real yogis can walk and mingle with people, but all the while their minds are wrapped in God. And therefore, Bhagavan says, Tasmad, therefore, Tasmad, with the sword of knowledge, cut apart the doubts. Jnana sinatmanaha, with the sword of knowledge, what do? The ajnana sambhutam, the doubts that are born out of ignorance. And what are they doing? They are hritstam. Hritstam means they are residing in your heart. They are deep inside your heart. What do? You cut them apart and abide in yoga. Having cut them apart, chittitta vainam, having cut them apart, then what do? Abide in yoga. In what yoga? First karma yoga and then jnana yoga. Atishto tishta bharata. Rise. Once you have taken refuge, once you have abided in the yoga, get up, O Bharata, get up and perform your duty, O Arjuna. With this, Bhagavan comes to the end of chapter 4. With this call for action, call for duty, giving all the explanation about why Arjuna should do that. By gaining that knowledge, understanding the difference between karma and akarma, understanding himself to be the non-doer, and then thereby being dedicated, having that shraddha, and going out and performing his duty. Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Saditi.
Om Tat Saditi.
Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu.
Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu.
Upanishatsu.
Upanishatsu.
Brahma Vidyayam.
Brahma Vidyayam.
Yoga Shastre.
Yoga Shastre.
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade.
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade.
Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama.
Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama.
Chaturtho Dhyayaha.
Chaturtho Dhyayaha. So we all have, after each of these chapters, we have something that is a take home, the learnings that we have to practice upon, which is our sadhana. For chapter 1, we said, watch for shokha, watch for moha, and when you recognize shokha or moha, remove them. When you recognize there is sorrow or delusion in you, immediately remove them. Chapter 2, our sadhana was maintain equipoise in extremities. There will be extremities in life, maintain equipoise in those extremities. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Chapter 3, we said, do whatever you do, perform all your actions with utmost devotion, dedication and perfection. Samachara. Bhagavan keeps talking about samachara. For chapter 4, it is, let us take up karmanya karmanya paschet. So basically by seeing inaction in action, inaction in action, let us try and practice not being the doer while doing what we are doing. Karmanya karmanya paschet. That is the sadhana for chapter 4. Om.
Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Namada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Namadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Hari Om. Let's do the Aarti and then we'll go to questions and thoughts.
Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Maya Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Harihi Kamala Viharini. Harihi Kamala Viharini. Sundara Supanite. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Karma Sumarma Prakashini. Kama Sakti Hara. Maya Kama Sakti Hara. Tattvajnana Vikashini. Tattvajnana Vikashini. Vidya Brahma Para. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Nishchala Bhakti Vidayini. Nirmala Malahari. Maya Nirmala Malahari. Sharana Rahasya Pradayini. Sharana Rahasya Pradayini. Sabvidhi Sukhakari. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Ragadvesha Vidharini. Karini Mudha Sada. Maya Karini Mudha Sada. Bhavabhayaharini Tarini. Bhavabhayaharini Tarini. Paramananda Prada. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Asura Bhava Vinashini. Nashini Tamarajani. Maya Nashini Tamarajani. Daivi Sadgunadayini. Daivi Sadgunadayini. Hari Rasika Sajani. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Samata Tyaga Sikhavani. Hari Mukha Ki Bani. Maya Hari Mukha Ki Bani. Sakal Shastra Ki Swamini. Sakal Shastra Ki Swamini. Shrutiyo Ki Rani. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Daya Sudha Bharasavini. Matu Kripa Kije. Maya Matu Kripa Kije. Hari Pada Prema Dan Kar. Hari Pada Prema Dan Kar. Apno Kar Lijay. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Maya Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Harihi Kamala Viharini. Harihi Kamala Viharini. Sundara Supuniti. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita.
Hari Om, we have some more time for questions, thought, comments.
Srini, this is Nipun.
Hi Nipun.
Hi, beautiful session today.
Thank you.
So I had a question and a comment. So the first question is in Shlok 38 and 39, we talked about Shraddha, right? So can you explain, like, what is the Shraddha for? I mean, is this for the God, for the scriptures, for Gita? What exactly is the Shraddha for?
Shraddha is for whatever you pursue.
Okay.
Right? So, yes, it is for God, it is for the scriptures, it is for what you do. It is, like we said, it is an aspect that is there. It is seeing the, based on what we are now, we foresee the truth, or we see what we believe is the truth. What is the reality for us? So yes, whatever we are pursuing, the Shraddha or the devotion for what we are pursuing,
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
See, we said Shrat and Dadhati. That is Shraddha. Shrat is reality. Dadhati is uphold. So whatever upholds that reality for me, for each one of us, that's Shraddha.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I mean, like thinking about like my past, like right. So I mean, what like while growing up, I remember having that Shraddha on the teacher helped a lot. To although I mean, I remember while preparing for like engineering JEE and all that, right? My math teacher, I used to have a lot of Shraddha, and like I took his word for. I later realized that he was not that smart, but I remember, but he was a very good teacher. But I thought like if I didn't have that Shraddha, right? I mean, I wouldn't have probably taken him seriously and wouldn't have uh, gone that deep if not for that Shraddha. Even he wasn't that smart, but he was a very good teacher, and I was able to get that knowledge because of that Shraddha. But just anecdote. So the comment, coming to the comment part.
Absolutely. Can I respond to this?
Yes,
Because what you said is
please.
just really beautiful, you know. And if others want to respond, you can too. It's really beautiful. See, that is true. See, in fact, it is said that a person who is a non-believer with Shraddha, okay, with utmost Shraddha, Shraddha Dadati. So, you know, what upholds the truth for one's own truth. So, a person who is absolutely with Shraddha, non-believer, that person also, because in the non-belief also, Bhagwan is there everywhere. So, there also he realizes Bhagwan. It's faster. The problem is when you are Shamshayatma, the doubtful self, where you are neither here nor there. That is the problem. The Shamshayatma is where there is risk of not attaining what you have set out to achieve.
Right. So actually, like on the comment was on that itself. So reading Shlok 40, right, the Shraddha and Samshatma. So I felt like, I mean, this would be an ideal Shlok for these like godmen to misuse, right? That just trust us, don't doubt us, whatever we are saying, right? So, but like reading Shlok 41 and 42, I mean, it was all about Gyan. I mean, it was that if you attain the knowledge, then you can cut this doubt through that. It wasn't like, so first I misinterpreted, I guess, Shlok 40 as that you should not doubt and just have Shraddha. And but that seemed a little off to me, given the way I mean Gita has progressed so far, right? It's all about question and answers. Arjun is doubting everything, right? So but 41 and 42 seems to be in that direction itself, that cut the doubt with the knowledge rather than just Shraddha, right? So have Shraddha to gain knowledge, but and remove doubt via the knowledge. Is that a correct interpretation?
See, Bhagwan doesn't specify that you should have Shraddha on me or, you know, on what. Shraddha, Bhagwan says Shraddhavan, the person who has faith. That person labhate jnanam. So the one who has faith obtains the knowledge. He's not specifying, but he will later on. Bhagwan keeps saying, you know, devote yourself to me. And he has already said it in the past, as we have read, and in future also in Bhagavad Gita. In various ways he says that. Okay?
Right.
But in this case, he's saying that the people with faith, the man of faith, the woman of faith, they obtain knowledge. And then be intent on that pursuit, is what he says. So it is not like, you know, Bhagwan is saying that, you know, just blindly devote yourself on the path that you have chosen.
Got it. Thank you.
I have a question, Srini. So in verse 34, what it means is that this Brahma Jnana is something those who have probably realized it, the wise, they are the best person to guide you on that or instruct you on that. Is that what is being said? Like that is one of the source.
So Bhagwan is saying that you ask questions. So Bhagwan is giving us three ways to obtain. So the verse 34, Bhagavan is talking about how do you gain this knowledge? Right? How do you gain this knowledge? He's talking about first one is by
Question and
seeking.
okay.
First one is seeking. The second one is by questioning. Pranipatena, pariprashnena. So seeking with humility, asking questions thoroughly, so that no doubts remain. And he says that the people who are wise, when you ask them, when you question them, when you seek from them and when you question them, they will share with you. And they will share with reason, they will share with logic, they will share with explanation. Why? Because they are people who have experience. Not just have they got indirect knowledge, they also got direct knowledge. That is why they will be able to give it to you in the right manner also.
Okay.
So from our side, we seek and we question and we serve. That is also an important part. And the wise, the jnani, they, because of their experience, they will share with you in the right manner.
Okay. Got it.
Hari Om Shri, Namaskar for the session first. Thank you for the session and Namaskaram.
Thank you, Prashakra.
Yeah, I have one observation and one question, as well as you had mentioned about the army story, wherein it were your own people. I guess verse 37, if I'm not wrong. So something similar has happened right now, right? On the Shopian youth. If you have read, there's a place in J&K called Shopian. There were 3 youth who were shot by the army, and eventually it turned out to be that they're gone for shopping. So Manoj Sinha, who's the governor of J&K, he was expressing his condolences. So it just reminded me of what you said. It happens. And secondly, on Nipun's point, even I had this dilemma some time ago that especially I'm a person who's very into linguistics and literature. So there was a teacher who used to teach me English. And these days I realized that even I can catch the tense mistakes of the sir who used to teach me. And there was this feeling of, a self-boasting thing that was running in my mind at times. But then I later realized, I was reading and I realized that there's a difference between skill and acumen. Skill is something that the sir gave me. Acumen was my own, how quickly I perceive stuff. So that is where it came that there's a teacher in my locality, in my hometown. That person has taught maths to a lot of people who have cracked the JEE and are IT engineers right now, but sir is not an IT engineer. So that is where, the circle of evolution runs as such that sometimes we outgrow our own existence. It is based on how quickly our metabolism of learning is. So that was on that. And finally, on ignorance, Shlok 42, the last one. I want to ask, what exactly is ignorance? Is it the absence of knowledge, or is it being devoid of righteous knowledge?
That's it, you're done? Yeah, so
Yes.
you are now bringing in dharma. When you say righteous knowledge, you're bringing in dharma. So yeah, adharma. So your question, I'm interpreting it as, is adharma ignorance, or is not having knowledge or not having jnana is ignorance?
It can be interpreted. Yes, it can be interpreted in either ways. My basic question is that sometimes we have knowledge, but that knowledge is not the knowledge for the ultimate divinity. It's somewhat fragmented. So what is ignorance? According to me, even that is ignorance. That if you do not, like if you have a master but there is not a bona fide master, so even that is ignorance. So that is what I'm trying to seek some light on that.
Sure. So first, let me handle the first one. See, when you bring in righteous knowledge, see, adharma is not ignorance. Adharma can be done with full knowledge of what you're doing. Like we have seen in the past, people like Duryodhana. Duryodhana says that I know what I'm doing is wrong. I sense it. But there is some invisible force that makes me commit it, that makes me commit to it. So knowing fully well, people end up indulging in adharma sometimes. So adharma need not be ignorance. But ignorance is something where you are, so Bhagavan says that when you are going through this path of Karma Yoga, when you are in this path of Karma Yoga, that knowledge will come to you on its own. Be patient. Kalena, it will come. And if you have the internal qualities of Shraddha, then it will come faster. That is what Bhagavan says, right? So, what is ignorance is that lack of that knowledge. And what is that knowledge? That knowledge is nothing but the understanding of I am doing, I am acting, I am doing various things. But am I the doer? Am I the karta? Am I the person who is responsible for it? That delinking the sense of I, the doership. And when you delink the sense of I, the doership, the bhokta also goes away. The enjoyership also goes away. That is knowledge. That aspect, not having that aspect, is termed as ignorance. It is as simple as that.
Yeah. Following it, but have some doubts here.
Knowing,
So,
knowing myself as a karta and a bhokta, that is knowledge. Thinking of myself as karta and bhokta is ignorance.
yeah, so I'm sorry to be funny here, but why do people say then ignorance is bliss?
That is irrelevant.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Makes sense.
In certain cases, yeah, maybe ignorance is bliss, but
And this shloka 36 and 37, in which Bhagwan explains about the boat of, getting into the boat of transcendental knowledge, and then you kind of cross the ocean of miseries, and even the fire which burns the ashes, firewood into ashes. So, are these different representations of telling the same thing that just keep, like what we are doing is, we were talking about now that there is a Swadhyaya Yagna. So I believe what this is happening is Swadhyaya Yagna. So is it that if we are continuous on the path of Swadhyaya Yagna, automatically the miseries start to dissolve? Is this what Bhagwan is telling here?
see, first of all, what is Bhagwan defining sin as? Bhagwan defined earlier also, Bhagwan defined sin as nothing but the mental disturbances that are within our own mind and intellect. That is what sin is. So once we know that, then crossing that, getting over that barrier of sin, which is nothing but the disturbances within our own mind, that Bhagavan gives various ways to do it. And in this chapter, towards the end, in today's session, he also prescribed a couple of ways to do that, right? By gaining this knowledge, by understanding that I am not the karta, then I'm able to ensure that that sin or that disturbance that is inside within me goes away. And this knowledge acts, this knowledge, irrespective of my past, quote unquote, sins, because of the disturbances that have accumulated within me because of my past actions. Those disturbances, they go away. And how do they go away? Like a raft takes you across the ocean, like the fire burns fuel into ashes. Like that, this knowledge burns or helps you cross all the sins or disturbances that you have accumulated within yourself through your past actions. Once you get this knowledge, is what Bhagavan is trying to say.
Yes, thank you. Makes sense.
Hi, Srini. Great session today. I have two questions. The first one is keeping the younger generation in mind, the generation of today.
Sorry, can you
so
repeat? Keeping what in mind?
The younger generation of today, who are aiming at getting into Ivy colleges, all of those. So we talked about the external and the internal factors. We talked about listening with humility, thorough questioning, service, shraddha, deep intent, mastery over senses. So there are some students who do all of this for years together, and they still don't get the desired results. So they are frustrated. What message do you have for them?
You're done. There you said two, so
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So,
yeah,
so
that's it.
I mean, I don't know if I'm the right one to give a message, but I'll tell you this. Bhagavan says it, no? So we have Bhagavan's message with us. That is good enough for us. So Bhagavan says that keep doing, following the path of Karma Yoga. Keep going. Charati, charati, keep going. And what happens when you keep going over a period of time by itself? It will come, it will get established in you. By yourself, in yourself, the knowledge will come in. So, yes, that is the only message that Bhagavan gives, which I can repeat, which is keep at it, keep at the path, keep going. Don't lose faith, have that Shraddha.
But we have to keep their tender age in mind, and we also have to consider that patience is a virtue these days. And these kids at that age, they don't have that kind of maturity to handle such situations, and that kind of patience too.
No, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with the kids. In today's age, it is the parent. You are the one who is thinking like this. Leave the kid alone. They have it. They have the maturity. It is natural in them. We are the one who, bring impurity into their maturity through our judgments. Have faith that the child knows. Why are we trying to impose, especially this generation? Especially this. It's not like in our generation we didn't have problems when we grew up. But the kind of awareness, the kind of social media, the kind of other people telling us, whether I have the maturity or I do not have the maturity, my parent trying to guide me, trying to check where I am at every given point in time. All of that is what confuses the younger generation today. This is my personal belief. I think children naturally have, the leaning towards faith. Children naturally have the leaning towards positivity. The acceptance that a child has, a child who comes last in class or last in a race has for the winner or for the person who comes first in class is infinite times more than what the parent of the child has. And like we know, there are various avenues in which children can. So this younger generation, I think the younger generation is governed by the older generation. That is where the problem is. Too much governance.
Okay. All right.
And even for the younger generation, even for today's generation, the answer is the same. The answer is that you have to keep at it. You keep going at it. Keep doing what you're done. They will do. If we let them, if the older generation lets them, they will do it.
My second one is, how do you define sin? Is it just the mental disturbance, or is it something else to it?
What is the something else in your mind? Because I already told you my interpretation.
You said it's the...
In fact, what Bhagavan tells us as the mental disturbance. What is this something else that you have in your mind?
Something that is undesired. See, mental disturbance, I understand.
Disturbance is undesired. So yes, it is also that undesired thing, element.
Okay.
Sin is that disturbance that arises in our mind because of various reasons. Some of it we have gone through, some of it we will go through, because of the shoka, because of the moha. If you see Arjuna's journey, those are the reasons for causes for sin to take place.
Okay.
Now the other thing, maybe the unsaid, I don't know, I was thinking if you're implying that, is the papa punya, in terms of the sins that you accumulate for yourself, that aspect.
Yes, I am referring to that too. Yes.
Yeah, maybe you're referring to that, maybe you're not, but for us, see, I would say that right now in our pursuit, okay, like we said, when we went through the path of spirituality, we came to Tattva Jnana, right? And from Tattva Jnana, I don't think there's time to revise the entire flow or entire path of spiritual progress. But ultimately, we said that Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti. Okay, Jivan Mukti is attaining that equanimity peace, which Bhagavan talks about in today's session also, that peace, that inner peace in this life, in this current life. In that context, sin is mental disturbance, which prevents us from obtaining that equanimity in this life. And I think for us now, if we achieve that, then we can worry about Videha Mukti. We are so far away from Jivan Mukti. Why theorize about Videha Mukti? Let's get onto a level where we are confident and stable in terms of equanimity, and then we can think about, Videha Mukti.
Thank you.
So for now, I would say, for me at least, and for most of the people that I interact with, I think sin, it's good enough to define sin as the mental disturbances that prevents inner equanimity and peace within.
Srinit, do we have time? Can I add something to Aditya's question?
Yes, sure.
Do you think Runanubandha is a sin in any ways as well? I have my reasons to ask you this.
Do you see what?
Do you know what is Runanubandha?
No, I don't know.
Okay, then I'll just share something and then we can have a discussion sometime later. It's like, the past credits that you carry. We were talking about Papa and Punya, something related to that. Not exactly equivalent, but not equal. But yeah, I'll share something on that, what I have read, and then we can have a talk later.
We will come to that. Okay, let's, Bhagavad Gita, we will come to that. I don't know exactly the term. I have not read about the term you're talking about. And in which scripture it comes. I'm not aware which scripture it comes. Sorry?
Pandurangayar, Ronanu is basically debt relationship.
Yeah, so
loosely translated.
If you're talking about debt with respect to karma, okay, and the inherent tendencies that come about because of the karma.
Yeah.
The prarabdha karma, the sanchita karma, the agami karma, all of that, let's be patient, we will come to that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Rina. I didn't hear what you're saying. You're talking about Rina. The bandha that comes from Rina.
In a way, yes. There's a lot of legends to this word, but yeah, we can talk about it. I'll be patient. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments? See, one thing I'll share about my personal journey, some support from Upanishads here and there, but Bhagavad Gita. I actually avoid reading too many of the other books because, it leads to too much confusion and too much debate. Personally, for me, my journey is about simplification. Like they say, a golf swing, the more effort you put into a swing, the more you think about the swing, the golf shot goes wrong. The simpler it is, the better the swing and the better the shot and the better the distance you get. So to me, in a lot of ways in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan is actually simplifying so many things that we have a tendency to complicate. So I first want to, reach a level of proficiency in the Bhagavad Gita and then see if I have, any more requirement or interest, to pursue other text. So, and that would be my advice to all of us. We should choose, one or two, and then go deeper, as deep as we can. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, if there's no other thought or comment, I think we have gone beyond our time, which is good. Thank you all. Hari Om. We'll start chapter 5 next Saturday. I'm eagerly looking forward to it. Hari Om.